everybody, and welcome back to Women of Worth, a show about women for women. We took the summer off. It was really well, not a long time off, I guess.
It feels it.
Just feel it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very strange. Anyway.
Yeah.
Good to be back.
I'm Michelle LaChappelle,
And I'm Kelly Bowl.
and we're so glad to be back in the studio. It did seem like a while. We had a lot of fun over the summer.
We did. It went by rather quickly.
Mm-hmm.
The weather was, so-so, but
Yeah.
I got some vacation time, and
Yeah, you got some vacation
I did.
time.
I did. I took a
didn't.
lot of vacation time, so that was good.
I got none.
Michelle was covering for me during my vacation time, so thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And also during the summer, actually, it was this in the end of May or was it beginning of June we did this?
We did
It was
the
in
article,
June.
yeah.
And if you live in the Blackstone Valley, you probably recognize this local paper, the Blackstone Express. It comes out once a month. And we were featured in the most recent issue that came out. Came out mid-September. And we've had a little bit of fun with this. First of all, I want to thank the reporter, Magda, who came out we did this at Michelle's home in front of the she shed, and she came out and spent well over 2 hours with us and really dug into, what our mission is with the show and what our hopes and dreams are going forward. But the running joke with this photo and the little caption underneath is our roles were reversed. So it states that Michelle LaChappelle is the director of the Northbridge Senior Center and that I am the assistant director.
So excited.
So, yes.
It's a great
so I was
promotion.
demoted.
Yeah. you
Yeah.
were.
And Michelle was promoted.
It was great.
And life's been good.
Yeah.
So, but it is, we're very thankful for this opportunity to have some exposure for the show. And so hopefully, because of this, we have some new viewers.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be really, really nice.
That'd be
And we
great.
had a lot of people coming up and congratulating
Yes,
us on
yeah.
on the article and also about my promotion,
Absolutely.
which was fun.
And sad for me for my demotion.
Yeah.
So, anyway, but a lot of people also didn't even realize that we were doing this. So
Right.
again, I think getting the word out there and people will be tuning in. And so we've got some exciting topics that we are hoping to explore for this season 2.
Yeah.
And we'll get a little bit into that tonight. But so.
Yeah, I'm excited about this season because I think once you start something, you so evolve, and we really noticed that from last year. We evolved from that very first show to the last show when we were kind of chuckling at ourselves at the beginning of little things that we had,
Well, we spent that one day, we kind of did a little recap of all the shows,
Yeah.
and we were laughing so much. But
were.
again, we watched ourselves grow from
Yeah.
the first time, from the very first show, to where we were at the very last show of that season. We were just had grown so much, and so that's great. And hopefully we're just going to grow that much more going forward.
I agree, and and so exciting to try to be picking the guests that we're going to have for the season, and really focusing. Today we're focusing on women's health. We have a fantastic guest today. She's over there, smiling.
You'll see her in a minute.
Yeah, you'll see her in a minute. And just talking about women's health issues. That'll be today, but also about. Women with some maybe with exercising. That would be another one that we're going to have. Teachers. We'd love to talk to the teachers about going back, full time to school.
We're teaching during the pandemic.
Teaching during the pandemic, and then in our town, we just got a new elementary school, what it's like teaching in the new elementary school. So there's so many topics that we can really touch on. And of course, our core is trying to talk to women in business in town, because we did miss a few last year due to scheduling and things like that. So we're hoping to get them back.
Right
around.
before small business.
Yeah, Shop Small. Yeah.
Oh, Shop Small.
Yeah, yeah,
They are small business,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the Shop Small,
Yeah.
which is a great event.
yeah. So that's it's pretty exciting to be trying to pick and choose who's going to be on the show. And boy, we've had some really favorable responses. People want to be on the show. Our guest over here is really excited. So I just one thing I thought was really interesting. Somebody posted this on Facebook. Marcia was on our show before. She was on our very first show. Very first show. She posted something I thought was so interesting, and it had to do with singing. Now, if anybody knows me, they know that I like to sing. I sing everywhere and anywhere, and I'm not
Any
very
opportunity.
good. I'm not good, but I enjoy it. So Marcia did this thing that there are actual studies on singing and how beneficial it is. And
How
think
beneficial is it, Michelle?
it's beneficial for me, not for anybody else that has to hear me. But I thought it was so interesting. I mean, there's these key benefits to singing. And even just if it was 5 minutes a day, so it relieves stress. Obviously, when you're singing and having a good time, it's just
It changes your whole mood.
It does
your
change your whole mood.
outlook, and
Yeah.
you feel good inside. So,
Yeah.
what are some of the
Well, there's
benefits?
It relieves stress, and these were based on studies. So all of these key elements to the benefits of singing are based on all these different studies. So they were citing all these ones when I looked them up. So relieving stress, stimulating the immune response. It's good for your immune system. Increases your pain threshold. That's an interesting one, I thought. So they were shown that if singing helps to reduce your pain. So I thought that was interesting. We'll talk to the doctor about this. It might improve snoring. I thought that was fantastic. I have to get my husband to start singing.
Maybe because you're opening
Yeah.
up the chest.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
the lungs. And, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a great one. It does help improve lung function. It's an exercise for your lungs. Yeah, she's shaking her head over there. She knows.
Oh, we gave away her name already.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. But yeah, so it does. It exercises your lungs, which is phenomenal. It really opens you up. And so it was good, they said, for people with COPD, with asthma. So it was fantastic. So it develops it develops a sense of belonging and connection with other people if you're singing in a choir, in a chorus, or
Right,
with other
that's
people,
true.
singing in a car, which is where I always do my singing best. But if I'm singing with like my nieces and my sister, it's just oh my gosh, so much fun. It enhances memory in people with dementia, which I've noticed this, and it's really amazing to me that when you sing to anybody with, say, Alzheimer's, dementia, they will remember words to songs and things like that, and that really boosts up their confidence in themselves. It really is a fantastic thing in that category.
Well, isn't that true when we say maybe in teasing with our own peers when
Yeah.
we're singing a song?
Yeah.
Wow, I remember the words to that song, but I can't remember,
what I did
what I
yesterday.
read, or
Yeah. Yeah.
it's funny how that music just stays with you like that.
It triggers, again, these are all based on studies, it triggers something in your brain. So helps with grief. I think that's self-explanatory.
Yeah.
And it just improves your mental health and overall mood. So I thought that was so interesting
That's
because I swear I could just be talking to somebody and I'll start singing because it reminds me of a song. I mean, I do it constantly. So it's just a fun thing. So do a little singing out there. It's good for your health. All right, so let's get to why we're here today. Our guest today, now I have to say, I'm aging myself, but I have known her since she was 2 years old.
Oh.
2 years old, and so it's really a great pleasure to have our guest, Dr. Maggie Pollard, on our show today.
Yay.
Welcome, Maggie.
Hi.
So, yes, Maggie is Dr. Maggie Pollard. So it's just so interesting to me to say that.
A title she
too.
has totally earned.
And she has earned it.
Yes.
So, I just would love to know, first of all, what's the process been like to become a doctor? I mean, that's setting your sights. Did you always know you wanted to be a doctor?
That was my question.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say, has this been a childhood dream or no?
Yeah.
So it's actually pretty funny. This was not a childhood dream for me. I actually wanted to be a dolphin trainer.
Oh,
That was like my
interesting.
youngest childhood dream, like at SeaWorld, like training the dolphins. And then my mom was like, that's not a very lucrative career. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll be like a marine biologist. And so I sort of carried that through, actually probably until I was like high school and college. And I went to high school and really loved science, but I really loved musical theater, and that was a big part of my life. And I went through college knowing that I wanted to do science of some kind, and I majored in biochemistry. And I found that I liked the science, but being at the lab bench with like the chemicals and doing experiments, that didn't really excite me. What really excited me was being with people. And so when I was in college, I, sort of in my early 20s, went out kind of like searching for myself. I was like, well, I really need to like do something meaningful. What's something that I can do that's really meaningful? Yeah. And I stumbled upon, like very literally stumbled upon this hospice that was right next to my college. And I was like, I think I want to volunteer for this hospice. And I did throughout my senior year of college, and it was probably the most meaningful thing I ever did. And after that, I was like, that's it. I think I want to be a doctor.
Wow.
Yeah, particularly for older folks. So that was that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how much schooling did this all take?
It's a lot, and it's different for everybody. So I think the nice thing about medicine is that you can go into it at any age. So you have like the Doogie Housers who come in like, they're like 20s, early 20s, 21, 22,
Right.
who are, in med school. And then you have folks who had a totally different career, and they did something else really interesting that, enriched their life and probably led them to, wanting to go into medicine. And so, there were people in my med school class who were in their mid-30s, 35, 36, with children.
Oh, wow.
Some people who are pregnant. And that was med school. That wasn't even sort of residency.
Right.
So it's cool.
Well, where are you right now in the process?
Yeah, so I like to tell people that I'm like Meredith Grey season 3.
Interesting.
Oh,
Yes,
I
but
know, I like that.
yes, but I'm not a surgeon.
Okay.
So, and I'm also chief resident in my class.
Awesome.
There's 3 chief residents, so that's really cool. So basically what you do is sort of in that order, 4 years of undergrad plus or minus, grad degrees if people wanted to go get their MPH or their MBA, and then you do 4 years of med school. Some people decide to get a PhD, which can take anywhere from like 3 to 7 years, but at least 4 years of med school. And then you choose your specialty. And then once you choose your specialty, you go through that sort of prescribed residency. For me, as like a family medicine GP, that's 3 years. But for something like neurosurgery, that would be 7 years, or orthopedic surgery.
Right.
So from high school, if you think to yourself, I want to be a doctor, so that's 4 plus 4 is 8, plus potentially 7. That's 15 years of like after high school education, which is just like insane.
You've got to really like it.
You do.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
And you gotta hope that, you gotta know that it's gonna be really worth it, because in the moment it doesn't always feel worth it.
Right.
That's important.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you got to be really smart.
That helps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. But I definitely feel that the strongest medical students and the strongest residents are people who've struggled academically or otherwise, and have really learned to like, overcome that.
Right.
Because doctors are really teachers. You have to teach your patients. Your patients don't come to you knowing
Right.
this
Right.
stuff. And so if you haven't also struggled to understand, you're probably not as good at breaking it down for your patients. So
True.
I think that's important.
So what would you say in your, in med school for you, what was the male-female ratio? What would you say?
Ooh,
that
that's a
was?
great question.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Yes, so we are definitely like flipping. So for a while, medicine, becoming an MD or a DO, which is a doctor of osteopathy, which is equivalent to an MD, was very much a male-heavy field, and it was always, men become doctors, women become nurses, period.
Right.
Right, and then
Right.
I think sort of, in sort of the end of the 21st century, then we have these sort of other specialties that came in. So you get nurse practitioners and OTs and speech therapists. And again, those were pretty women heavy fields. And then it was sort of, where does that leave medicine? But now, sort of after, the millennium, we're like seeing a flip of, while it was 50-50, now it's mostly women. It's actually like
Interesting.
60-40
You're
in my
kidding me.
in my med school
Really?
class. Yep.
Wow.
Oh yeah, it was great. I mean,
That's
I
exciting.
already
Really
had a
exciting.
partner, but a lot of some people did not, and so all the women were like, "Man, we're all the eligible single men in med school. There's nobody. It's all women."
It's all women. Wow.
Wow.
That
And-
is wonderful.
And like the women are really like infiltrating those male heavy specialties. So
Right.
my med school graduating class comprised of half of the orthopedics class the following year. So like if you go see your orthopedist at UMass, it could be one of my
Oh, okay.
colleagues, who are just total badass women.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So it's just so smart.
Yeah.
Women, yes.
And that is a heavy male field that had
Oh my
been,
God, yeah.
very heavy
Yep.
with orthopedics, yeah.
Yeah, you sort of end up sorting
Wonderful.
yourselves that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, as you go along, you probably say, oh, yeah, this is where I want to go. You probably navigate it as you're going.
Yes.
And what you like, what you don't like.
yeah, it's like the sorting hat for Harry Potter. You sort
Yeah.
of figure it out like at the end.
Yeah.
And then everybody declares their specialties.
Okay.
Right.
And you see, you're like, oh, there was that guy who never said anything. Oh, yeah, he's going to be a radiologist. That makes sense. You
Oh,
know?
yeah, yeah.
Or,
exactly.
here's this like exuberant girl who like loved to babysit and puppies.
course,
She's going to be a pediatrician, It's
Pediatrician,
like
of
very,
course, of course.
yeah.
So is it gerontology? Is that what your specialty would be?
So-
Geriatrics?
So I went.
I don't like that term. I don't know, it just doesn't
Geriatrics.
sound. It just sounds.
Gerontology.
It just sounds old to me. I don't know.
Does sound a little
Yeah.
I went into it deciding that I wanted to first do family practice with an emphasis on older patients.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because in family practice, you are trained in pediatrics, adult medicine, women's health, and OBGYN, and then older folks in geriatrics as well. And I thought that being able to take care of everybody in that spectrum really helped me sort of envision, the dynamics of a family unit, because, older people are just so imperative and important in that family structure.
Of course.
And when old people get sick, the family is coming out of the woodwork, and you got to know how to talk to them.
Right.
so.
Exactly. Or
Yeah.
sometimes there is no family.
Right.
That's another challenge.
That's another challenge.
For sure.
We do, working at the senior
We face
center,
that.
we face that. So, so we're kind of in the same. We're in the same field.
Absolutely.
Doctor.
Oh, absolutely.
We just don't wear the white
We don't wear
coat.
the white coat.
No, it's so important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is. That happened to me. I think for some reason, you get that aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
You do.
When I was doing occupational therapy, I was doing my one of my affiliations was at St. Camilla's, and
Oh, I remember St. Camille.
yeah, and the first person that I helped, I remember she just took my hand and she said, "Thank you so much," and literally, I swear, it was like.
That was it.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do. This is it for me. I am done. And I was, so I was young when that happened. I was 29. So yeah, I was like, that's the field I want to be in. Yeah,
That's
it's
so cool.
fantastic. Yeah, so it's a good feeling to know what you want to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, old people are the best. Older folks are the best.
They are. Some are cranky. but,
Some are,
yeah.
but
I know.
You can
Even
get
the
through
cranky
that.
ones,
You
you
can
can.
Yeah, you can get
when you
through.
can get
Crack that.
through,
Yeah.
that crusty outside,
Yeah.
to the warm,
Yeah.
gooey center. Oh, it's just very
Yeah.
satisfying.
Yeah.
I always think that we were talking about that the other day, and I feel like sometimes people who are like this and cranky, I think that has a lot to do with their own fear.
Sure.
fear or even maybe loneliness or keeping people at a distance, things like that. So it's interesting to really think about stuff like that when
Yeah.
you deal with people. You know, or you could say, oh, that person's just cranky, or you could say, well, why are they cranky?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, what is the root cause of that? You know,
Right.
and then once you get there, you're like, oh, this person just needs, you know, other people, right?
People don't end up that way on accident,
Right.
for sure.
Yeah.
There's always a reason,
Yeah.
or several.
Yeah,
A lifetime of
exactly.
reasons,
Right.
you know?
Exactly. So, yeah, you have to think about where they've come from. Yeah. So, I was going to ask you the $1 million question because I think this is what everybody is thinking about healthcare
course.
right now. Healthcare in COVID.
Yeah.
Maggie,
healthcare in
please,
COVID.
Dr. Maggie, please tell us. You poor thing.
God.
God help you.
Oh,
I
From
mean,
the
really,
beginning.
yeah.
Oh.
What was it like when it first started? Like, were you really understanding what was going on in the healthcare field?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all. Yeah, Kelly and I were talking about it a little bit before we started, and I feel like similar to like, you know, where were you when JFK was shot? Where were you on 9/11? Where were you when COVID started? It's,
Exactly.
right? And we didn't know at the time how monumental that was going to be, but we remember it now because it was just, you know, so monumental. And so I remember being on a plane flying back from California on one of those very rare 4 weeks a year we get vacation where we're not on call or
Yeah.
anything like that. And so I'm with my partner and we're flying back from a lovely vacation in Napa, and people are wearing not like the regular, you know, cloth or paper
Right,
masks, because that was before
yeah.
then. They're wearing these crazy, like, you know, particle dust masks you get at Home Depot on the plane.
Really?
Just a few.
Mhm.
And it sort of had that ominous feeling.
Mhm.
And I had a friend of mine who's also a physician in my program, who was in Liberia, and I was messaging her because she had Wi-Fi. And she was like, yeah, like, do you think she was like, oh yeah, we're like in a layover, like in Brussels. Do you think this COVID thing is actually like real? Like, do you think it's going to be a big deal? And I remember being like, I genuinely don't know, you know, and then like that, it was like 2 weeks later, it was like end of February into March, and that was it, you know, so yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah.
And talk about the hospital
Yep.
right after that. So maybe going into March, April, what was the vibe in the hospital?
So it was just this like crazy phenomenon that that the hospital had emptied out by the time like end of March and beginning of April. It was just like this eerie sort of calm before the storm. Like Memorial was empty.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is because people were not
People were-
electing
were home.
surgeries and staying home.
They
and-
were afraid.
Afraid
They
to
did not
come
want to
up.
come in. They were like, my belly hurts.
Yeah.
You know, I'll
Oh,
take
well.
Pepto-Bismol and take my chances.
Yeah,
You know,
okay.
I fell down the stairs. Like, I'll just ice it. You know, I'm
Right.
not going to go in during this. And you know, when you think about, Kelly and I were talking about, you know, the frequent flyers. You know, the people who come in for alcohol withdrawal or overdose, or you know, people who come in, older folks who come in for confusion or falls. I mean, it just had emptied out. They were like, no way, I'm not coming in for that. And yeah, I remember just being like, where is everybody?
Yeah.
And then, you know, summer came and boom, everybody was back. Everybody who had neglected those, you know, those like chronic, pretty serious conditions, those people with kidney disease, with liver disease, who need frequent care
Right.
in the hospital for various things, they all came back in the summertime, and we were just like busting at the seams, and it was,
Right.
you know, and then, you know, we were worried about running out of masks. And, you know, that was like the first bit, all the supply issues. And so
Right.
that was just really
Right.
nuts. Yeah.
Did you have to work with any COVID patients?
Yep, I did, and I still do.
You still do?
Yep. I mean, I think, you know, I think about, you know, my, you know, being in the community and being like, am I like a COVID pariah? Like a, you know, like a person who could like secretly be carrying COVID at any moment. And me and my other fellow healthcare providers really felt that way prior to the vaccine,
Right.
where we didn't, oh God, I'm going to cry. I didn't see my parents for
Right.
months.
Right.
None of us saw our parents for months.
Right.
People who lived with their parents moved out
Right.
People who live with their grandparents moved out in my program, or any other healthcare workers.
Right.
It was just this feeling of, we're going to give it to everybody. And that's really quieted down a lot, especially as like the data came out that if you're vaccinated, if you're wearing N95s, if you're gowning, we're actually like the lowest transmitters. It's the folks, who aren't vaccinated, who don't know if they have it, who are gathering and, in close quarters, those folks that spread it more. So, yeah.
And was there support for you and your fellow colleagues, or whatever the term is we want to use for the people that you're with all the time? Did you feel like you were getting the support to deal with that? And
I feel like Memorial really did like the best they could, and I think we had a new chief medical officer who's done actually a really excellent job, and we had the field hospital and the emergency room, or the emergency department comprised of the PCAs, the RNs, the techs, the residents, the attendings. Those, they really led the charge in terms of like disaster medicine, and so I think we felt a lot of hope with that. I think that one thing that really stunk about COVID is that because we were so essential, if any of us got sick, and we all did, a lot of us did. I got COVID. We all got COVID. It was inevitable. But if any of us got sick, we were then pulled out of our work to quarantine for 14 days, and then you're on a skeleton crew. And so for that reason, we could not gather. I couldn't spend time with my colleagues. The only people who really knew
what you were going
what
through.
we were going through, we could not be together. And so that was really isolating.
Yeah.
Right. And so your boyfriend,
Yep.
is it your fiance, boyfriend? Boyfriend. Okay, I'm sorry. Well,
Apparently there's a ring in the house. I just don't know where it is. I know.
That's exciting.
I know, it's very exciting. Don't worry, my mom already knows. My mom already knows.
Okay. Well, he's a doctor as well.
I know.
He's a doctor as well.
Yeah, he is.
Wow.
Yeah.
So was he feeling that as well?
Yeah.
And between the two of you.
And are
that
you
must
at
have
the
been
same
difficult?
hospital?
We are. We're at the same hospital,
Okay.
the same clinic, the same program, just a year
Oh.
apart.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think that people really realize what healthcare workers went through. I truly, even read in the news and reading, I don't think they really understood what
The
you were going
impact.
through. And just, thank you. Thank
Wow.
you for being there and doing that. It
And you're
was-
still
yeah,
probably
yeah.
you're still probably trying to absorb the whole thing and make sense of.
And pray it's not going to
Yeah.
start picking back
No.
up again. That's the
Well,
big
I
thing
think
that we're
she'll-
really
I
concerned
think
about.
Maggie will let us know that things are stirring
Yeah.
up a little bit. But
Yeah.
you
Totally.
said it's not just COVID. It's pretty much everything now.
Yeah, like in terms of who came back to the hospital. So for a while it was nobody.
Yeah.
And then it was everyone.
Yeah.
And then it was just COVID for
Yeah.
a while. And now, we sort of have this mix where it's maybe like 20% COVID. We still have an entire floor that's COVID dedicated,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe a little more than that, but yeah, so it's better for sure. Thank you.
So what would you say to people as a doctor if they have not gotten their shots?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I work in Barre, Massachusetts, and Barre, Massachusetts is very similar to Northbridge and Oxbridge, actually, which is partially why I love it so much. And I think there are folks here who are very skeptical of being told by some sort of higher institution that this is what everybody should do. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned is that sort of nameless, faceless data packaged either on the internet or in the news, or even from your doctor, if you don't have a good relationship with your doctor, doesn't stand up to the anecdote of my sister's friend died after they got the vaccine. Seriously. And even if there is really no sort of larger data to support that, or even to prove that has happened, it's really just a suspicion, it's a hunch. People come in there like, I have a hunch that my friend of a friend of a friend got the vaccine and something bad happened. Or I have a friend of a friend who got the vaccine and got COVID anyway. And so what I have to say, if I don't package it in the right way, won't hold up against their lived experience. And so what I do is I give them my lived experience. And I say, you have diabetes and high blood pressure and obesity, and I have a gentleman in the ICU with a trach who I took care of only 4 hours ago, who passed away today, who could have been you. And as your doctor, I would be so devastated if that happened to you, that I am pleading with you, imploring you to please get your vaccine, because the data is showing so strongly that, 90% of people, more than that, greater than 90% of people who are hospitalized have not been vaccinated. And so please, please, please get your vaccine. Anyone, I don't care. And get your booster, which I think is going to be coming down the pike.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would get 4. I would get 10.
I'm getting, as soon as they allow it, I will get it.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes,
So
yes.
that's what I say
Yeah.
to my
Well,
patients.
thank you for that, Maggie.
You're
I
welcome.
think that's really an important message. I truly do. I think that's really
It is,
important.
because there's still so many misconceptions. And,
Yeah, there is.
And people are just so, unsure of,
Yeah.
of it. And
Listening to their uncle's brother's
Yeah.
wife's cousin.
Or
you
like
know,
you said,
and-
being told.
Yeah.
Being told
Yeah.
that this is what they
Or reading.
should do.
A lot of people are reading
Yep.
really
Yep.
misinformation.
Social media.
And people,
Reading
people don't like the
misinformation.
CDC because they think
Right.
the CDC is governmental. There's partisanship, and how does the science fit into the partisanship? And I definitely hear that. And so what I look to is the most reputable forms of data that I would look to would be like the New England Journal of Medicine. That is a super reputable, just a super reputable. What's the word I'm looking for? Just a big repository of excellent high quality studies that have been broken down to even explain to folks who don't usually read academic papers, exactly what's going on with the different variants, with the different vaccines. They talk about the adverse vaccine reporting system or vaccine reaction reporting system. So if you think you've had an adverse reaction to a vaccine, you can report that somewhere. I mean, yeah, so, if you don't like the CDC, check out the New England Journal of Medicine and see where the doctors are getting their data from.
Right.
Exactly.
You know.
Good.
Exactly.
We're also getting it from the CDC, but,
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
But
But that's a good point. Yeah.
to be reading rather than
Yes.
what somebody posted on Facebook
Exactly.
or something.
Absolutely.
So,
Right. Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's skip this heavy topic, but we had to get through that because
Yeah,
I think
it's important.
I think it is important. We haven't really had anybody on that's really been in
Healthcare.
you've been in the muck
Yeah.
for a while.
Thank you for letting
Yeah.
me use my platform.
Yeah.
I'm so honored to be here
Yeah,
with you.
Absolutely.
Truly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're a woman of worth. So we said, get that girl on here.
Yes.
So we were going to talk about some different issues with in women. Well, not issues, but
Yeah.
topics in women's health,
Facts of life and women's health.
facts of life.
Yeah.
I was reading that there are some leading causes of the leading causes of death in women are heart disease, cancer, diabetes was
Yes.
and,
Yep.
and diabetes.
Yeah.
What are the preventatives for, say, heart disease? What are the preventatives?
Sure.
I'm thinking exercise and eating good, right?
Yeah. I mean,
The
so
obvious.
The obvious.
yeah, and it.
But why? Why does it have to do with your heart? So,
Sure.
is it extra fat around your heart if you're not, in good shape? I don't know.
Absolutely.
Tell us.
Absolutely.
Tell us.
I love talking about this. This is what I talk to my patients about all the time. So women are at increased risk of heart disease because of two reasons. One is the things that cause heart disease, which you were asking about, which are primarily high blood pressure, high cholesterol, which is directly related to like obesity, unfortunately, and diabetes. And the underlying cause is all of those things result in sort of clogging or narrowing of the special arteries that give blood to your heart. So your heart pumps blood, but like everything else, your heart needs blood to work. So there are very special arteries devoted to just getting blood to your heart to give your heart the energy it needs to do its job, and those are called the coronary arteries.
Right.
So I think, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes all act in a certain way that cause the arteries that feed the heart to narrow or get clogged, which causes heart attacks, or sort of the symptoms you get before a heart attack. Which leads me to my second point, which is, why is heart disease so lethal in women? And I think it's largely because women don't always have typical symptoms of heart attacks or the symptoms you get sort of leading up to a heart attack. And so, for men in their 60s, the thing that you think of is men in 60s shoveling snow in the driveway.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I feel like there's an elephant on my chest, clutching chest pain. Call 911, go to the hospital. You're having a heart attack. We treat you for that. But for women, it's a lot different. So women might get belly upset. They might get, sometimes arm pain, sometimes jaw pain, sometimes just a general feeling of being unwell. Like I just feel kind of low-key all of a sudden. Sometimes shortness of breath. I also think that women, in general, have a lot of responsibilities in life and therefore might neglect their health and put themselves last in the process of taking care of everybody else and not keep up on, their screenings to help see if they have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes. So
Right.
that's my reason.
Right.
Yeah.
That was show 1 with Marcia about
Yes.
women putting themselves first.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So important.
Yeah. It's the me first
Yes.
movement.
Yes.
Yeah. She
Yes.
kind of coined that phrase, the me first movement. Put me
Yes.
first.
Oh, I
So
love
yeah.
that.
So that is a big deal with heart disease, is that I think women do neglect it, and also it's not even eating right, because if you you're trying to do a million different things and I'll have something quick, or
Exactly.
I don't have time to exercise, or so how can you prevent heart disease?
That's a great question. I think one of my all-time favorite mentors, his name is Frank Domino, and he is like a big leader in family medicine, Dr. Frank Domino, and he tells his patients and told me, there is no pill that I can give you that can extend your life in the way that a small amount of exercise multiple times a day, multiple times a week,
Right.
and eating healthy can do for you to extend your life. And it really is about, a little bit at a time,
Right.
and less is more. And so, I talk to my patients a lot about how to incorporate, healthy eating and exercise in their everyday life. And the way I go about it is, I actually say to them, I say, so which one are you better at? Are you better at dieting or healthy eating? I shouldn't say dieting. That's not really great. Are you better at healthy eating, mindful eating, or are you better at exercise? And they'll usually say one or the other. And I'll say, great. And you need to work on the other one.
Okay.
Right? Because that's the one that's
Right.
Focus on the
tripping you up.
problem.
Right.
Yeah, that's the one that's tripping you up.
Right,
People
yeah.
are generally comfortable with one or the other.
Right.
So that's the first thing I start with. And then, for mindful eating, I think these days it is all about mindfulness. It's all about
Yeah.
how do you rewire your brain to think about, the act of eating, to think about what's in the food you're eating, to think about where you're getting it.
Right.
All those things are sort of designed to slow you down in this fast-paced
Right.
world of I'll grab something quick.
Right.
And so that is really the key. If you can zero in, and this is sort of a vague answer, but there's just so many resources on mindful eating. One app that I particularly enjoy is Noom.
I know, I did know.
Yep.
Yeah, I did really like it.
Yeah, and
yeah.
you have to pay for it, and that stinks. But there are a lot of psychological professionals who, in addition to helping with anxiety and depression, help with mindful eating techniques. So ask your doctor if they have a psychologist that they know who can help you do what basically Noom does,
Right.
and it'll be covered under your insurance.
Oh, there you go. That's a great little tip too.
Yeah.
I like that.
Anyway,
Yeah, but yeah,
Oh.
even like when you're eating, just to think about every bite you're taking. Like that's mindful eating. Like think about every bite you're taking, and when you're done with your food, and put your food on a smaller plate.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Smaller portion.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
And then once you're done eating, do not go back for seconds. You wait because your
Yep.
brain hasn't caught up
Yeah.
to say
or
you're full.
with your stomach.
Yep, yep.
Yet. So if you wait, and that, I swear, that is a
Works.
technique I use often.
Yep.
If you just sit and relax. Oh, and drinking water before
Drinking
you
water.
eat. Drinking lots
Yep.
of water before you eat. And
Yep.
yeah. So
Yep.
I have learned those techniques.
You have learned a lot from Noom.
I
mean,
have. I really liked
yeah.
that app. I didn't think it was that expensive either, so it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad.
It sort of depends. It depends on what you're willing,
Yeah.
to pay for. But yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think
So diabetes. That's a big one too.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of patients come to me with this sort of they're concerned about diabetes, but I don't know if people always know like what it is.
Right.
So it could be because of family genetics,
Mhm.
or they think that because they're getting older,
Mhm.
that that's going to be inevitable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally. And I think they're like it has something to do with high blood sugar, and then it sort of stops there.
Right.
And that makes it hard. You have to sort of explain to them like how diabetes works, because what ends up happening is the first step is always, can we change your lifestyle to help decrease your sugar intake and increase the way your body is metabolizing sugar, so that way we can lower your blood sugar. And that's directly related to like weight and obesity and things like that. And then if they're like, I'm trying, but I'm having trouble, then you move on to the medications, which include pills that you can take, or then starting insulin.
Right.
And if patients, it's hard to get patients to make the jump between like, what is insulin, how does it work, why is it important? So I think that's something I talk to people about a lot. Yeah, and I think the important thing too is going to your doctor and getting tested for diabetes using a specific blood work called an A1C, which is sort of an average of your blood sugars over a 3-month period, and then trying to catch it when you're in that pre-diabetes window. So you want to know like when you convert from not having diabetes to having pre-diabetes, because that's really where you can start doing some good work to change your lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually had that program at the senior center. Remember?
Yes, it was sponsored by the YMCA, and it was actually for pre-diabetic folks, and it was it a 6-week program?
Oh, it was longer than that. It was quite a few weeks.
Wow.
Was it?
And then they carried them through a year, I think, wasn't it?
Tell me more about that. What was that
Yes.
program?
It was really, yeah. That what they did was they talked to them about their nutrition. They had somebody really talking to them about eating and
Right.
exercising. I think that was really the crux of it. And then the making sure that you come back for your meeting the next week, and that you're reporting what you've done. So you're being, you're having to take control over what you're actually doing, and then you have to report it to people.
You're being held accountable. Yeah.
You're being held
So there
accountable.
was journaling.
Yeah, journaling.
And there
yeah.
was weight
Yeah.
checks. So
Wow.
it was similar to like a Weight Watchers
That's
type
intense.
meeting.
It
Sure,
was,
it's really
but they had to qualify and be pre-diabetic.
Yes.
And
And
for it.
insurance did
Yeah,
pay
and they
for
did
some
pay
folks.
for it. Yeah, so that was we should do that again.
revisit that one,
That was a
yes.
really, really good one.
It was.
For
And
it was
we
at our
could
senior
see the
center.
transformation
Yeah.
in people. It was
Yeah.
amazing. One particular gentleman lost a significant amount of weight.
Yeah,
And we could watch it week after week. We
Yeah.
could just see him just slimming right
that's
down.
great.
Wow.
It was
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
That's so cool.
So that was something that we try to do some healthy programs at the senior center,
Educational.
educational and things like that. So yeah.
That's so
So,
important.
yeah,
Because I
yeah.
only see them for 15 minutes. You
Mhm.
guys
Right.
see them all the time.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
every Tuesday or Thursday or whatever,
Yeah.
however often they come in,
Yeah.
sometimes every day.
Yeah.
Right.
So having those community-based programs, I see my folks 15 minutes once a month
Right.
if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
Right.
More like once every 3 months.
Right.
So it's really what you guys are doing that makes the difference,
Right. Right.
Right.
Thanks. Making a difference.
You are.
Making a difference.
Yes. Carrying it
Yeah,
through.
we are. So, the big one is cancer.
Yeah.
That's, I guess preventative for cancer is really screening.
Yep.
So it's, you really can't prevent cancer, I would think, any other way other than getting early screening.
Certain things you can, very
Well,
specifically.
skin cancer, stay out of the sun.
Yep.
That's,
Yep.
That's an obvious one.
And again,
Yeah.
it's like all the list of like the the things that are no fun. If it's not fun,
Yeah.
it's probably going to protect you from
Right.
high blood
Exactly.
pressure, diabetes, cancer,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you know,
All the
Things
big
like
it's
ones.
all the not fun things. Don't
Right.
go tanning. You know,
Right. Right.
don't smoke.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I'm trying to think of other things.
But what would be, can you, well, yeah, okay, colonoscopies.
Yeah.
So early screening for colonoscopy,
Yeah.
prostate
Mammograms.
exams.
Yep.
Pap smears.
Yep.
Mammograms. So these are all major screenings that people really need to be doing.
Yeah, it's I feel like that is such a responsibility as a primary care doctor. My job is to really help empower my patients to keep track of their screenings. And then if they, if life happens, so if they feel like, they're like, I'm not able to get to my colonoscopy this year, or I'm not able to get to my mammo this year, it's my job to keep track of that.
Right.
And, give them a buzz every so often and be like, hey, like, I'm just Dr. Pollard here, have you thought about your colonoscopy? Because even though it's not like the most sexy part of medicine, it's so important. It is life-saving.
Right.
And I think that is something that you can expect your doctor to do for you. And a lot of times it is built into the system. So in my computer system, there is a little checklist in the bottom left-hand corner for every patient that I see that says, did they get their vaccines, including, tetanus, shingles, pneumonia vaccine. Those are the big ones. And then, did they get their colonoscopy? Did they get their pap smear? Did they get their DEXA scan, which is the osteoporosis scan? Did they, I'm trying to think of other ones, did they get their lung cancer screening? So,
Interesting.
yes. Do
Is
you want me-
that a required, not a required thing, a recommended thing now?
That's a great question. So,
I don't think I didn't know that.
lung cancer screening is kind of new as of, I think,
Okay.
I would say the last 10 years or so.
Interesting.
And it's a very specific type of screening for a very specific type of person. So if you were a person who smoked a pack a day for, of course I'm going to butcher this, a pack a day for I believe about 20 years, or like the equivalent. So if you smoke 2 packs a day for 10 years, that's like the same thing, right?
Right.
So if you smoked a bunch
Yeah.
and you quit within the last 15 years, so if you quit 20 years ago, you don't qualify. But if you quit within the last 15 years and you smoked X amount, then you qualify for lung cancer screening, which is a big deal because lung cancer is a leading killer in America for both men and women. And what it is you go and you get a CT scan of your chest,
Okay.
which is when you lay in the tube, and it's not like the MRI. The MRIs take forever and they're very loud,
Yes, yeah.
but the CTs is just like zoop, zoop, you're done. Takes 5 minutes. And you get a pretty good high resolution picture of your chest where the radiologist can look and be like, there's a spot. We should watch that. And then
Okay.
you'll get another one the following year.
Okay.
And you can get one every year. Your insurance will pay for that
Oh, I didn't
to
know
help
that.
prevent
Okay.
lung cancer. It is so important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. There are a lot of preventative screenings that you
Yeah.
can do, especially for women. We talked about this before with your mammogram, your yearly mammogram. That's a
Yes.
huge one.
Yeah.
I think, a
Getting
lot of
them-
a lot of women neglect that one.
Absolutely. And going back to the pandemic a little bit, I bet you said you saw a numbers of people getting screened across the board were down.
No, it just fell right off.
Yes.
Yeah, nobody wanted
Which
to
is
come in.
unfortunate because now there are things that are being
Missed.
missed
Yeah.
or just too advanced because they weren't caught in time. So you're seeing a whole influx of
Yeah.
other issues.
That's so
and-
astute, and that is exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think though it is part of our job to figure out how can we safely get our patients screened even in a pandemic. And I think
Right.
physicians, particularly in primary care, are required to be creative
Yeah.
to get people to want to come back in and do
Right.
that.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what we're working on.
Right.
Is there still a fear, you think,
Oh, yeah.
of people?
Especially the colonoscopies. For people will invent all sorts of reasons as to why they can't get their colonoscopy.
And is it
Which,
still
you know,
50 or is the age
so
lowered?
So
Okay.
very interestingly,
Yeah.
for people who are African American, people who have a family history, your starting age is 40.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh, if you have a family history, I could understand. Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Oh, interesting.
And there's actually new data coming out now that I think within the next year or so, everybody's going to be starting at 40.
At 40. Wow.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes, but colon cancer is a big deal.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a big deal. So, so that's one.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that's interesting is that in the same way that certain screenings are being moved earlier, certain screenings you have to know when to stop.
Right.
So, for example, did you know that after 65, you're done with your pap smears? You need to get a single pap smear, unless you had like a special reason.
Right.
There was an
Right.
issue. Yeah.
Yep.
But see that I knew somebody who was an older woman in her 70s at least,
Yeah.
and she got ovarian cancer. So how do you screen for something like that if you're not doing
Yeah.
pap smears anymore? Then your doctor's not. Well, you're still going to the gynecologist though, correct?
You are, yeah. You can go for your annual.
Right.
Sure.
Oh, okay. But
They
you
can
just
do an
don't need the
exam and they
pap
can talk to
smears.
you.
I see what
Yes,
you're saying.
and pap
Okay.
smears are very specifically for a type
Yeah.
of cervical cancer.
Yes. Mhm.
So you're not going to pick up other ones necessarily, which is probably why. Because believe me, I'm sure the people who invented the pap smear were like, we should do this on everybody forever. You know,
Yeah.
it's life saving. But they
Right.
really did. We've been doing it for so many years that they were able to look at it and they were like, you know what? After 65, people's lives weren't saved.
Okay.
You're
Peop-
not seeing any benefit.
There's not a lot of benefit.
But so not the pap smear, but the exams. You
Yeah,
need.
so you should
Yeah.
you should still see your gyne.
Yeah.
I think the important thing, maybe even more important than the pap smear at that age, is actually vulvar cancer.
Yeah.
So if you don't have somebody who's looking down there at a regular basis,
Mhm.
and you can't look down there because maybe it's too hard for you,
Right.
you should have somebody else
Mhm.
look
Right.
down there because it's like the skin cancer equivalent of the vulva,
Oh,
you know,
that's
the outside of the vagina.
I knew
And
that.
you see that in so many older women,
Yeah.
because nobody's really looking
Right,
down there.
right,
You know,
right.
in some women, some people, plenty. You know,
Yeah.
some women, plenty of people are looking down there. But in
Might be
some,
a different
but in
topic.
some women,
That is
you
another
know,
topic.
maybe it's been a
We could
while.
go do a whole show
We
on
could.
this.
We
Yeah.
could, yes.
This could be another whole
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, it could. It could.
It's true.
I don't want to assume. I don't want to
I
assume.
know, and that's true. We should never assume.
We should never assume.
Never.
Sexually transmitted diseases
Yeah.
are rampant in the senior community. I'm sure you guys know
Yes.
that.
Well, we've heard
Nursing home
this, and
communities.
for some reason, I guess the big thing was it's down in Florida because they have all the
In the
communities.
different
Yep.
senior
Yeah.
communities.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because nobody's
Yeah.
getting pregnant, so you
Yeah.
don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
True.
So then why
So they don't
use
feel like-
protection?
exactly.
Why use protection at that point? You know, just having fun and and then you end up with,
Yeah.
with herpes and
Right.
syphilis and
Interesting.
you know you
Yeah.
Oh,
gotta watch out for those things. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's one thing we have not explored at the senior center.
No,
was-
I don't think we
was-
should.
Well, it's a part of their health, though. But
No.
anyway,
Or at least, you know, you don't necessarily have to check everybody, but it might
Yeah.
be worth it to ask.
Just-
Yeah.
You'd be surprised what people will tell you.
Yeah.
or
That's
just have
interesting.
information available. Maybe.
Information available. I think
Yeah?
it's right. Like at the
Yes.
doctor's office when you have those
A
little
little
pamphlets.
pamphlet that you want to be
Yeah.
like, I hope nobody sees me.
I
taking
know,
this.
exactly.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. I like that. All right, so moving along.
Yeah, moving right along. Got in a weird place.
Well, one other, I think, a big topic right now, is especially because of the pandemic, but I think this is a big thing with women, is depression and anxiety.
Sure.
Big. Anxiety, we're noticing that quite a bit with the pandemic, obviously.
The
And we do
isolation.
have people that are isolating themselves, and so that to me is just such a huge topic with dealing with depression, anxiety, with women,
Yeah.
because it used to be the old thing, oh, she's just a hysterical woman,
Yep.
or
Yeah.
what she's feeling is not real, or she's just overwhelmed, she's just tired.
Oh my
You
gosh.
always really
It's
very
always an
dismissive,
excuse.
very, very dismissive.
Yes.
So
Yes.
depression, anxiety is a big deal
Oh my god.
with women, and I feel like we just need to say, if you need to talk to somebody, there is no shame, in talking with somebody to deal with your anxiety and your depression, and I just wish that more people would understand that we're all in the same boat, and you don't even realize that that person sitting next to you might be feeling the exact same way you are,
100%.
'Know?
100%. I tell my patients that I have a therapist on a regular basis. I really try hard to normalize that for them and be like, I have a therapist,
Yep.
and I really benefit from having I frame it as a healthcare professional who is not your friend, but is specifically their job is to listen to you and help you, and is your confidant, exactly. That's covered by insurance,
Right.
covered by Medicare, and, you know, will give you all sorts of tools to help you work through this time, you know. Yeah, and I think you know, a lot of people in my class would say similarly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the number of people that I referred to our psychologists. We have in-house psychologists at our clinic, and many clinics do, especially in family medicine. So,
okay.
and explaining to people the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist. You know, psychologists are techniques for your mind, for your heart, emotions, and then your psychiatrist can help you with the medical piece.
Right.
So the number of people that I've referred to psychology and started on medications for anxiety and depression is probably 3 times a day.
Yeah.
If I see 8 patients, 3 of those people I'm talking to about their meds for anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
And we
It's like
have
40%
said
of my
there's such a
patients.
connection with physical health and
Mental health.
mental health. Yeah, so I think we are
I know.
running
Are we out
out
of time?
I told you,
Oh my
Maggie.
gosh, it goes so fast.
I told you.
Oh.
Maggie said, an hour. And I said, you wait. It goes
Oh,
by
wow,
very,
it was
very
so
fast.
Oh my god, I talk so much. I'm sorry.
Oh, why are you sorry? We're glad.
I don't even
Yeah,
think,
I
I
know.
think we just, hit
I
the
know.
surface.
I know.
I think
This
there's a
is-
lot more that we could
Exactly.
explore.
We'll have to go get a
so-
drink after this.
Yeah.
We can talk about the rest of it.
Or
No
have you
camera.
back.
I know, right? I would love that.
Yeah.
I know.
I'll be
I'm like,
back.
let's open in Northbridge at 9:08 at night. We could go to Kyoto.
Yeah.
My parents love Kyoto.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show,
Oh my gosh.
Maggie. We really appreciate it. And again, we're just going to try to focus on more of this as we go through this, through our season. And I love starting our season off. Our first season, we started off with one of my favorite people. And our second season, boy, this was fantastic. And thank you so much, Maggie, for being here.
Such an
And,
honor.
yeah.
I'm so honored to be here,
Yeah, thank
seriously,
you.
with all these strong, powerful women and all
Yeah.
you strong, powerful women watching out there. Thank you for making this for all of us.
And heed the advice and get your mammograms, get your colonoscopy,
All your
Get it all.
screenings
and
done.
exercise and eat right and do all the good stuff you're
And if-
supposed to be doing.
And if you're lonely and you need to talk to somebody, come down to the
Come
senior
down
center
to
to
the
see
senior
Michelle
center.
and I.
I know.
Or to Kyoto.
We're great.
Oh,
yeah,
in a few minutes.
Yeah,
yeah.
we like to talk. So thanks so much, and we'll see you. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
And remember?
For a new show, and always remember, you're a woman of worth. Bye.